مرحبا وأهلا وسهلا in our new video. If this is your first time watching us, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel or the chocolate hummus will haunt you. Also, if you like what you see, please don't forget to like, share and add a comment to let us know what would you like to see next in our future videos. If you are عربي أو عربية لا تنسوا تفعلوا الترجمة علشان تشوفوا الترجمة العربية على الفيديو. So Koshary is famous and popular and known in the whole wide world as Egypt's national dish. It's like layers of delicious rice, lentil, pasta, tomato sauce, hot garlic vinegar dressing, and crunchy onions. It's very delicious and provides lots of textures and flavors in one bite. But do you know that Egypt only known Koshary for the past 100 years, and Koshary is originally an Indian dish? Actually, Koshary comes from an Indian dish called khichdi. Khichdi means in Hindi and other Indian languages, the meaning is everything or all mixed together. It's a traditional dish that is made of basmati rice, yellow lentil, and other spices. And it's known in different areas of India, and different area has its own touches. It can be vegan, and also it can be cooked with other meats or fish, and eggs and spices. From that version came the British dish, or that English authentic or English traditional dish called khichdi. Khichdi is basically made of rice, flaked fish, boiled eggs, and curry powder. So the Indians came to Egypt as soldiers among the British Army who occupied Egypt in the end of the 19th century till around like the mid of the 20th century. And when they came to Egypt, they brought that dish with them. The Egyptians took that dish, and for that unique nature of the Egyptian people who are so fun and they love life and they love to add their touch to everything, they took that dish and started to add their own flavors and additions to it, like the garlic tomato sauce, the crunchy onions, the garlic vinegar dressing, and because there were lots of Italian Egyptians who used to live in Cairo, they want also to add their own touch, something to remind them with their heritage, so they added pasta. So all of this made what we know now as the Egyptian Koshary. Also, the word Koshary was first mentioned in the 14th century by a book written about the trips and travels of Ibn Battuta. He's one of the most famous Moroccan Muslim explorers of all time. Ibn Battuta spent 30 years traveling, visited 44 countries, and one of these countries were India. And here he saw the khichdi, and he mentioned it in his book and called it Koshary. You know, the difference between how the Indians pronounce it when he is pronouncing it. And he said Koshary is a traditional Indian food that they make with a mix of rice and barley or rice and lentil, and then here have it for breakfast. Today we'll make Koshary the Egyptian way with all of its bells and whistles. and hopefully you will. So the first step in preparing koshary is frying those crispy onions. So here I have like a frying pan with a good amount of oil, canola oil or vegetable oil, and it's set on high. And then I have prepared onions. They were cut into slices or juliennes. These are 4 onions, white onions, as you can see. And for these, I sprinkled 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So basically your ratio is for 2 medium to big onions, you need 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Here I have 4 onions, so I sprinkled 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I want my onions to be crispy and gold, okay? And I don't want them to turn into black, because if they turn black during frying, they will have a bitter taste and will ruin the overall taste of koshary. The cornstarch, you need to sprinkle it immediately before you fry the onions, not like way before. While your while your oil is heating, you sprinkle the cornstarch, you mix it together with the onions, and then you add the onions to the oil. Now I'm gonna add the onions. I think the oil is ready. Just wait for a few seconds. It's ready now. Then we're gonna put the onions. Stir. Make sure that all the onions is covered with the oil. Wait like a few seconds until the oil is boiling, and leave the onions for around 20 minutes. This deep frying on low heat will make all the moisture in the onions to come out, which will make the onions very crispy, and at the same time it will not burn the onions. So during those 20 minutes you need to just keep checking on your onions and stir, so the onions are not burned or stick to each other or whatever. See you next step. So as you can see, the onions now, after more than 20 minutes, by the way, took me more than that, they have gotten that golden nice color, and they're really crunchy. I don't know if you can hear this voice. So this is how we want our onions, and as you can see, they reduced a lot in size, so 4 onions were not really much. So here you go. And then this is the oil where we fried the onions. Now it has been infused with great flavor, so we're not gonna disregard it, we're gonna actually preserve it. and use it in all of our next steps to add that yummy flavor to each of the koshary components. So now with the next steps. In this pot, I have put water and then 1 tablespoon of salt and 3 tablespoons of the onion oil that we saved earlier. This I'll be using to cook the pasta. Today I'm using elbow pasta, but you can use any shape of pasta you like. Also, you can basically use 2 different types or more. And here, and the other pot, I had put 6 tablespoons of the oil, the same onion oil, and then 2 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm gonna add vermicelli. This is 1 cup of vermicelli or sha'iriyya, and in this pot we're gonna be making the actual koshary. We're gonna toast the sha'iriyya till it gets nice and golden. As you can see, now it's nice and toasted. I'm gonna add the rice. I'm using Egyptian rice, washed and pre-soaked for like half an hour to an hour. This is 2.5 cups of rice. And then I'm gonna mix and give the rice a little toast. And now I'm gonna add the lentil. I'm using brown lentil. It's 1.5 cup of washed and pre-soaked lentil. Lots of people actually cook it halfway and then add it to the rice, but instead I like to soak it instead of cook it and then add it to the rice. This will make sure that the lentil and the rice are cooked together. They both will need almost the same time to be cooked and ready, and the rice will not be the lentil will not be overcooked. So I have like a total of 4 cups of grains in this. I'm gonna mix. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of salt, and almost 1 teaspoon of cumin. Mix. So Egyptian rice usually needs, for each cup of rice you need like 1 cup of water, but because I have both the lentil and the rice to cook and I have a total of 4 cups of grains here, I'm gonna be adding 4 cups of boiling water. As we always say, always use hot water and not cold water. This is what you wanna hear, this sound. You mix. Wait for it until it boils again. And then I'm gonna cover it and reduce the heat to the minimum and leave it until the rice and the lentil is fully cooked, absorb all the water, in, and they're like delicious and fluffy. Now I'm gonna be preparing the garlic tomato sauce. So here I have like 1/4 of a cup of the same onion oil that we used before. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of crushed fresh garlic. Next, basically stir. Just a little bit till the garlic gets a nice golden yellowish color. Now the smell of the garlic is basically spreading out, and it's really good. For that, I'll be adding 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce or tomato paste. I'm gonna be adding 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper or red flakes, 1 tablespoon of cumin, well, I'm sorry, 1 teaspoon of cumin, teaspoon of coriander, adding a little bit more cumin, and then 2 teaspoons of salt. Lower the heat a little bit, like medium. And now I'm gonna be adding 2 cans of crushed tomatoes. Be careful because it's gonna start like, flying all over, so be careful with that. You can use tomato sauce, fresh tomato juice. But I prefer the crushed tomatoes because it's like whole tomatoes, and the thickness is perfect for the koshary sauce. If you use the fresh tomato juice, which is basically the tradition, you will need sometimes to cook to get the sauce to be thick enough. Just making sure that everything in the can is out. Just add some water to the can to get the rest of what's in there. I don't like to waste anything. So here it had been boiling for a few minutes. So the last step is I'm going to be adding 1/4 cup of white vinegar. And then immediately turn off the heat. So you need to put the vinegar immediately before you turn the heat off. Don't let the vinegar boil. So now we're making the Doqqa, or the garlic vinegar dressing. So here I have 2 tablespoons of the same onion oil. For that I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of crushed garlic, and then I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. You can also use like jalapeno slices or any spicy pepper in here. Also, this is optional, so you can omit it altogether. Then I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of coriander and 1 teaspoon of cumin. Then I'm gonna add 1 cup of water. There, just make sure that there's nothing stuck to the bottom of the pot. Then wait until it boils. Now, since it boiled, I'm gonna turn off the heat and immediately add 1/2 cup of vinegar. And the Doqqa is done. So now I have the koshary and all of its components ready. The crunchy onions, the Doqqa or the garlic vinegar dressing, the garlic tomato sauce, the pasta, the cooked pasta. And by the way, after I drained the pasta, I mixed it with another 3 spoons of the onion oil to give it that shyness and an additional flavor. I have the koshary mix, the rice with the lentil and the vermicelli. I have pre-cooked chickpeas. These are also soaked the night before and cooked, and they're ready to be used. And of course the crunchy onions. Here I have a layer. I'm gonna start assembling the koshary. I have a layer of the koshary mix, which is the lentil and the rice. I'm gonna add some of the pasta. Some of the yummy, delicious tomato sauce. Oops. I like not some, I like lots of it. Chickpeas, you can put them on the top, put them on the side, it's up to you. And then the yummy crunchy onions, the top. Finally, drizzle some of this delicious Doqqa.